Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast.
Field.com. This is the world's favorite place to go for fun, informative car talk. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Just ahead, we talk to lemon law expert Eric Stotz. If you feel like you got a bad deal, keep taking it back to the shop. I know somebody that recently has done that. He's the guy to talk to. We're going to talk to him and get all the latest. Jeff has the racing calendar. Mars has This Week in Auto History, and I'll get you caught up on the stories making automotive news headlines. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad you could join us today. We got our video fixed, so that's always a good thing.
Yep.
So let's go out to the left coast.
Okay.
And joining us now is Eric Stotz. He's the COO, Chief Operating Officer for Lemon Law Experts. Eric, thanks for getting up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
I know you never get up this early on a Saturday morning, do you?
Well, I've got 3 kids and 2 dogs, so there's plenty to get up early for.
Yeah.
So, I'm up already.
Yeah, because if you're not up, they're going to make sure you are up. So I understand that you're part of the Lemon Law Experts Group. And tell us about the Lemon Law Group and what you guys do.
Sure. So we're a law firm. It's called the Lemon Law Experts, and we stand up for consumers that get a bad deal on their cars. And I don't mean a deal in terms of the financing. I mean a deal in terms of basically the performance of the car, its safety, its use, its value. And if those things are not honored by the manufacturers that sell the car to them, then we stand up for the consumer and we litigate with the big car manufacturers to get them to make it right. And in some cases, that means them buying the car back from the consumer or giving them some money for their troubles or replacing the car.
Yeah.
So consumers don't generally have a voice when it comes to these big car manufacturers. They've got big litigation departments and lots of money, so they're hard to fight against. So that's what we do exclusively. And we do that in California. We have about 26 attorneys that litigate full-time against the big car manufacturers and standing up for the consumers.
Now, do you do this just in California?
We mainly do in California,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For somebody here in Texas, where we are, then I assume that if you didn't take it on, you would be able to find us somebody that deals in this sort of thing?
Yeah, referral.
Yeah, well, incidentally, our managing partner, Jess Scanvar, she's an attorney barred in the state of Texas also. So we can take on Texas lemon law cases. So
Jessica, you're my friend.
See, Mike's not used to talking to attorneys without a subpoena, so that's why he's being a little quiet over here.
That's it.
I should be clear to you that, just a disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I'm a chief
okay, we're good.
law firm, but I'm not an attorney.
You're the guy that runs the show.
I help with the operation. There you go.
That's a nice way to put it. So, Eric, I have a friend of mine that has a relatively brand new, a 2024 model, half-ton pickup truck. He spent a lot of money on it, as you can imagine. I'm sure you've dealt with this. And he's had engine problems with it. And it is apparently a known issue with some of these half-ton V8 engine trucks, and probably in other vehicles too, but his was a truck. And he took it to the dealership. They couldn't find anything wrong with it. He said, no, there's this noise coming from the engine. Well, they kept it a few more weeks, and they wound up having to replace the motor. And from my experience through another friend of ours that does decreased values, if you replace the motor in a vehicle, the numbers no longer match, and that's a decreased value. Do you guys do things along those lines for lemon laws?
Yeah, so when it comes to lemon law, it's anything that affects the safety, the use, or the value of the car. So, once the engine has been replaced, and that's a pretty substantial issue. If it happens multiple times, if there's multiple issues for the same thing over and over again, that's usually when we would get involved. And that could include anything from, power loss, repeat issues, braking issues, check engine light issues, electrical issues, exhaust issues. As long as they're repeat issues, that's the key factor there. And then the dealership representative, or the manufacturer representative, which is the dealership doing the repairs, try multiple times to fix that unsuccessfully, that's usually what triggers us getting involved.
Gotcha. And we do a recall segment in this program, usually every weekend. And there have been, it seems to me, without being too methodical about going back and knowing the exact facts, but there seems to be that there have recently been an uptick in major recalls. And the latest one that we read, 100,000 Toyota Tacomas with a V6 engine being recalled because of an engine issue in the manufacturing problem. They're recalling them, and they're going to replace the engine. No questions asked. Bring the car in, we'll put you a new engine in there.
Yep.
I'm going, how much money is that going to cost? An engine costs a lot of money. And for a manufacturer to replace 100,000 of them, because there was debris in the engine when they manufactured it, and apparently the debris kind of adds to it eating itself internally. And I'm going, oh my God, how does this happen to 100,000 motors? And I would imagine that you've probably been involved in some of the recalls and lemon law stuff with that.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, so we heard about that one. That's going to cost Toyota about $1.9 billion just in the parts alone, the engines, not to include the labor, right? So that's a huge issue. And then one of the other ancillary issues that you can think about when it comes to recalls is, I'll give you a fact here. In California alone, in 2021, according to Carfax, there were 6.3 million unrepaired safety defects being driven on the road. So cars that should have been recalled and fixed for safety issues, substantial safety issues like loss of power, seatbelts that fail in a crash, airbags that explode, loss of steering, stuff like that. 6.3 million in California alone. We're still on the road because people may not know about the recall. They don't want to deal with the recall. They don't want to take it in the dealership to get it done. Who knows? Could be a bunch of different reasons. But the point is, there's a lot of vehicles out there driving around that should be recalled and aren't. And in just California alone, there's over 6 million.
But most of the time, at least what our experiences is, there's an effort for that recall. I mean, you hear about it on the news and things, and they send out mailers and stuff. But if it's a car's changed hands 2 or 3 times in its life, the person that actually owns it today may not be aware of it, like you say. That's a problem.
But, the other thing is, in that regard, is that we encourage all of our listeners to periodically go online to the NHTSA website, and all you have to do is type in your VIN number to find out whether it's been fixed or not, or whether there's even a recall on the thing. And so the things are in place to be able to make your decision easily. Call your dealer, your Toyota dealer, or GMC dealer, whoever it is. You call them and say, hey, look, I've got a vehicle that's been recalled. How can we get this repaired? And sometimes, not all, but Toyota even said, hey, look, we'll replace the motor in it. We'll give you a car to drive. Bring it in. Let us fix it.
Yeah, that's great info. You guys are in the 99th percentile of educated consumers out there when it comes to car issues. So if more people knew that, there'd probably be more happy consumers out there with their cars. But unfortunately, not too many people know about that. Incidentally, we recently did a study about the angriest car owners, angriest car owner brands out there. Yeah. And one of the things that drove the most anger from car owners was having to deal with recalls. It was a big deal. And lots of lawsuits and recalls related to the brands that people owned. So that, for example, the Takata airbag issue alone, that affected 7 million vehicles. And that was probably the single most infuriating thing that consumers had to deal with. People have a pretty high expectation when they buy a car. You spend a lot of money on a car. Most people's car purchase is, the second biggest or the biggest purchase they're ever going to make.
Correct.
And if that doesn't function really well, they get pretty bummed out. And in a lot of places in America, especially in California, where you got urban sprawl, you need your car to get to work, to get to school, to get to everywhere. And if you don't have multiple cars in your household and your car fails, that's a big problem. And that's why people come to us to help them out when they have a problem with their cars.
Well, like the Takata deal, I mean, sometimes you go back 2 or 3 times for the same issue. They're doing recalls on the recalls.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it really gets people frustrated.
Yeah, I can tell you if it's something of interest to your listeners here, we do have some cars that we have found, car brands that generally don't have a lot of issues.
Well, we would like to hear them.
Yeah.
So tell us what they are.
So consistent with our experience here, and this is based on our sample size of cars that we get calls for that people want to lemon. We generally don't get a lot of European cars. We don't get a lot of Toyotas, Lexuses, Subarus, Volvos. As I mentioned, European cars like BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, Mini. We don't get a lot of Mitsubishis. Those are pretty consistently really far down the list of cars that we get calls for with issues. So if you want to bet on a car to get that's not going to have a ton of issues, from our experience, those are the ones that we'd bet on.
Okay, so go ahead.
Now,
we also generally don't get a lot of supercars or high-end sports cars. We don't get a lot of Ferraris. Or
no, because those guys, $250,000. Oh, it needs an oil change. Just the cigarette butts need to be. Just get rid of the car. I'll just go buy me another one. That's how that works.
See, at that point where you're saying Mercedes hit a light for me, because we do a lot of Mercedes recalls. It's just that you don't get it on the lemon law side of it. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but they do have recalls.
One of the other things that's skewing the supercar, hypercar thing there is that those car companies have a great deal of pride in their cars. So when you take one of those cars into the dealership, they want to make sure it's fixed right. And they're not going to send it back to the consumer in some wonky condition. That's going to have them coming back in for the same thing over and over again.
What are the top 3 worst cars that you get on the lemon list?
So we generally lemon a lot of Fords. So for everyone out there that's a Ford guy, sorry to break the news to you. A lot of Fords. I'm going to give them to you in kind of the top-down list.
Please do, yeah.
We get a lot of Nissans. We get a lot of FCA cars, so that includes Jeeps, Rams, Dodge, Chrysler. I'd say about order. Most Jeeps, then Rams, then Dodge, then Chryslers. And we also get a lot of GMs. And probably in the order of most to least, we're looking at most Chevy, then GMCs, and then Cadillacs. I'm personally a GMC Sierra driver, so I don't really like to hear that. I love my GMC Sierra AT4X HD. Haven't had any problems with it. I'm on my 4th one. But we generally do get a lot of Sierras and, big trucks from America.
So your data, from your perspective, your data is individuals that have called in and said, here's my problem, and it's not like the massive recall from Toyota about replacing
His is strictly lemon law stuff.
I know, but I mean, that's what I mean. It's very specific, so whenever you say your biggest problem is the GMCs or whatever, that's based on real life data that you're getting from consumers, not some report someplace.
Right. So that's based on what we're hearing from our sample set of inbound calls and inbound emails and people interested to lemon their cars. And, it's not, is it representative of the entire population of the United States? Probably not, because most of our call are coming in from California. So that's our sample set is
But
California.
that's a big sample.
We're one of the biggest lemon law firms in the country, so we've got a pretty good data set to draw from.
So you're driving a big GMC monster truck in California. How do you get away with that?
I got 3 little boys. They like monster trucks.
Okay.
So
There you go.
I defer to them.
Well, Eric, it's great to talk to you. And the name of the organization, once again, is the Lemon Law Experts. And you got a connection in Austin, Texas. Good for you.
Yeah, we appreciate the time, guys. It was nice to chat with you here.
And thanks again for taking the time away from the boys. Give them my apologies. But lucky you got 3 kids, and wish I were there again.
And a big truck.
And a big truck, yeah, that everybody likes. So, Eric Stotz, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Eric.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
You
Have a
too.
good weekend.
Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, In Wheel Time is the place to go. And we'd love to hear from you. Info at NWheel Time. The NWheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for NWheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube at NWheelTime.com, and podcasts are available from your favorite podcast provider. The NWheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Pro-Am Auto Accessories has been serving Houston's auto enthusiasts since 1984, providing world-class products for sports cars, European sedans, and American muscle. Pro-Am is known as the place to go to find exclusive and hard-to-find parts and accessories. Pro-Am is one of the very first distributors in the USA for brands such as Recaro, Redline, Momo, Corbo, and Simpson. Located in the heart of Houston's premier retail and service corridor, the Galleria area, Pro-Am's walk-in storefront includes an 8,000-square-foot warehouse, showroom, and installation bays. Pro-Am not only sells parts and accessories, but also offers installation and service. Pro-Am is now reaching a worldwide audience through Pro-Am.com, taking its local reputation to the rest of the world. At Pro-Am Auto, you'll be dealing with a small group of professionals who truly want to help you with your automotive needs. If you don't see what you're looking for on the website, call and Pro-Am will lend you a hand. Pro-Am Auto, 6125 Richmond at Green Ridge in Houston's Galleria area. Call them at 713-781-7755. Want to feel good about something special you did for someone special? In Wheel Time and the original Lupi Tortilla group of Tex-Mex restaurants have joined together to help a very worthy cause, God's Garage, a Christian-based 501c3 charity. We know there are lots of places and organizations out there where you can donate a car, truck, or SUV, but we're asking you, our car enthusiast family, to consider donating to God's Garage. Visit godsgarage.org and learn about its mission, the women that have been helped, how each one is screened, and about their Restore You program. A car donation is an easy way to make a difference in the lives of others. God's Garage needs good operating vehicles, but will take all types in working and non-working condition. Make your heart and soul feel good by donating your gently used vehicle and help support single mothers, widows, and wives of deployed military at godsgarage.org. Thanks for joining us here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show as we start to wrap up things. I want to now tell you about, well, actually, Jeff wants to tell you about the racing calendar. He's been biting the bullet. He has been here since early this morning.
I was told not to be here before 9, and I snuck in at 10 to 9. So theoretically, Indy is actually off this week. They don't go back until August 17th, a couple of weeks. You've got tomorrow, Road America is running on the IMSA circuits. F1, they are off. They concluded the Belgian Grand Prix last week, and they're off until the August 23rd. And I'll tell you why in just a minute.
They went through the whole case of waffles.
There you go. NHRA is the 18th with the Lucas Oil NHRA Nationals in Brainerd coming up on the 18th. And NASCAR is off. Why is everybody off?
Everybody's getting ready to go back to school.
No,
that's too hot.
The Olympics. They didn't want to take up racing, competing against all the Olympics. And
well, I'll tell you what, I thought last week when they started the Olympics, what am I going to do when it ends? I've only got a week left.
Huh.
I guess play all the stuff that I wasn't able to see.
Yeah. Well, Kathy's been recording some things that she knows she couldn't watch live, and so she's been recording some of that stuff to go back and check into. Obviously, you know the results and all that, but if
you want to see how it happened.
Yeah.
Time now for This Week in Auto History, Mr. Mars.
Yeah, buddy. So I found several different things that were real interesting. And we're going to start with, on July the 28th, 1958, named for the son of the founder, Henry Ford, the Ford Edsel came out as a vehicle of the future.
God,
had
so
multiple
ugly.
advanced features for that price segment, came in 4 models, 2 different wheelbase lengths, and it became the symbol of a commercial failure. The Ford Edsel, it was one of the most famous failures in automotive history, was introduced on July the 28th. And discontinued after 3 years.
Am I the only guy that likes it? I don't mind that car.
I think it's ugly as hell. Look at
Particularly
that grill.
color. Yeah.
And the color.
Then moving on to July the 29th, 1967 was the birth of the Plymouth Roadrunner. Came out as a high-performance muscle car designed to be a cheaper, lighter GTX because of the popularity of GTX. They wanted to sell more of them. Came with a 383 as a standard motor And a 4-speed manual transmission was the standard. You had to opt up for the automatic that most of them I ever
Nobody
saw
wants
were
no
that way.
stinking automatic in a hot rod.
need
Well,
stinking
in a car like
automatic.
that, they projected they would sell 20,000 the first year. They sold 45,000.
There you go.
There you go.
And using the Warner Brothers Roadrunner cartoon character and the horn that they spent $10,000 to get the rights for.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
The other thing I found, July the 31st, I did not know that the first Corvettes, the first 300, were built in Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they started out. It was convenient because it was close to the tech center in nearby Warren, so they built the first ones there till they got it going. Then they moved it to St. Louis.
That's there's a C3. Why are we looking at a C3?
Because this is we can.
Because we haven't got to that point yet. No, that's the right picture.
Mm-hmm.
But July the 31st, 1981, the last Corvette came off the assembly line in
St.
St. Louis. They made almost 700,000 of those cars
The
in
worst
St. Louis.
build quality you have ever seen in an automobile in your entire life. I owned one.
Yep.
I had a C3.
Then they moved.
Oh, my God. It was awful. The paint job sucked.
Well, that explains a lot. I never knew they were made there. And anyway,
Yeah.
so they moved it on to Bowling Green. Then on August the 1st, the AMC Gremlin was the first American subcompact car introduced. Had an unusual design and just started out.
I
part of the
disagree with that
subcompact market.
statement because the Corvair in 1960 was built to compete against the Volkswagen Beetle, and that was a subcompact.
Mm-hmm. I
Also
don't know that
unusual.
they consider that a subcompact.
Okay, well, all right, fine. You just go with
Okay, well, it does-
theoretically.
It does not say it's the first. Let me rephrase. One of the first.
Ah,
Yeah.
There you go. Let's back that bus
I
up.
was talking instead of reading.
Yeah, you're talking. What?
talking out of what? Go ahead.
That too.
Go ahead.
Anyway, that was the things, particularly the Corvette, that I found interesting this week in automotive history.
Cool.
Learned something new.
You do.
Every day. Speaking of Corvette, Taj Yukter,
Oh,
former
how's he
executive
doing?
chief engineer of Chevrolet's Corvette, will be honored with a special emblem on the vehicles, starting with the 2025 models. After 47 years at General Motors, 31 of which were devoted to the Corvette, GM announced Yukter's retirement in April at the age of 67. Tony Roma,
Oh yeah.
not the football player.
No.
Oh, I was going to say.
And not the pizza maker.
Oh, no,
But the
then.
former chief engineer for the electric Cadillac Celestique, or Celestic, whatever you want to call it, Elastic,
Stop it.
succeeded Jukter on July 1st. Jukter's retirement coincides with the release of the new Corvette ZR1 that I told you has got 1,064 horsepower. This is the biggest step we've ever done, Tad Jukter told Automotive News. Early on, years ago, we had no idea we could get 1,000 horsepower to maybe 800 as a ceiling. GM said it will include a special graphic of Jukter's bust on the rear glass of the 2025 ZR1 Coupe. On the top left of the split rear window. Yes, it is. Did you see the pictures of it? It's got a
I
split window
did
in the
not
back.
see the back.
The icon of appreciation will continue beyond the 2025 model year when the front windshield glass and front tunnel reinforcement panel of every Corvette Stingray Z06 E-Ray and ZR1. Congratulations to him. I think it's
Yeah.
a great tribute to him and all the things that he accomplished in all the years at Bowling Green. Automotive suppliers are grappling to find workers and facing higher expenses, even as the Federal Reserve signals that labor supply and demand are in balance in the economy for the first time in years. That stands in contrast to the broader U.S. economy. While the overall labor market remains strong, it has cooled to the point where supply and demand appear to be fully back in balance. That, according to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, if you want to believe anything the government says anymore. But while suppliers could see interest rate relief, there's less indication that parts manufacturers will see improvements in labor availability and costs in the coming months. Suppliers have cited labor availability as the key issue since the beginning of the pandemic more than 4 years ago. So, good luck.
Yep.
Let's see. Auto industry watching in the November U.S. presidential election with keen interest. This from Automotive News. The report said a fed-up public might pressure the next administration to do something about high vehicle prices, which now average about $47,000 for a new vehicle. Good luck in buying a new car. And you know, people are hanging on to their cars a lot longer, 12 years to be exact now. That's the average age of an aging car,
Mine's
12
11.
years.
Mine's 11, yeah. And
mine's much older than that.
Kathy keeps saying you need to start thinking about it here pretty soon.
You know what you need to do? You need to call our buddy the Emmons brothers down.
I need to figure out what I want to do to begin with. I got to get
a plan in place.
Yeah, I don't have a plan yet.
But don't show up early.
No.
Just saying.
I will.
I know you will. Dealerships already spooked by the CDK global cyber attacks face new cyber threat risks stemming from global CrowdStrike outages on July 19th.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike is a cybersecurity provider whose problematic software update led to a crash of Microsoft Windows systems globally. Now criminals are trying to profit off the incident through bogus emails encouraging dealers to fix their systems. I know that we have dealers that listen to this program. A July 31st warning issued by cybersecurity consulting firm Helion Technologies cautioned that cyber criminals are pursuing what's known as a social engineering phishing attack. They're using a fake internet domain that appears to be CrowdStrike, and in an email are encouraging dealerships to click a link for an immediate patch. Don't do it. Call your supplier, the guy you know, and say, "Is this you?" And he's going to go,
"Nope,
that ain't me. Don't do it."
Hack it, and then you'll be in more trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid.
There you go, Michael.
2017 to 2018 being recalled because of a vehicle fire when park it away from any structure vehicle. I just wanted to get that
could be
in.
a problem
for Michael.
Yeah, well, no, this is the 17 and 18 model years, but that doesn't really add to sales in the Chrysler Pacifica realm.
No, it does not.
Would you think? Anyway,
it does not.
By the way, a 1970 AMC AMX. Okay.
Oh, we're doing
No, we're not. No, because I don't have time for that.
Okay.
But it went for Hemmings.com Sold Cars Roundup this week for $63,525, a 1970 model.
Oh, wow.
All right, we're going to wrap up today's In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show right after this quick break.
The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipe means when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the first Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here is the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katie's another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located on 99 the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station. Located just around the corner from Kyle Field, it's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Going to Louisiana? The Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont is on I-10, so you can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants has the best Tex-Mex anywhere, and you're invited anytime. Your car is a direct reflection of you, so don't be satisfied with color fade or a dingy, dull appearance. Get rid of those terrible automated car wash scratches. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your Save the Paint company. John Gray and his team of detailing experts can help your cars finish without a full repaint. Searching for the real experts in window tint or windshield protection? Gulf Coast Auto Shield. Dash cams, radar detectors? Gulf Coast Auto Shield. Got a new car? Get that thing protected as soon as you take delivery. If you don't know which of the multitude of protection products to go with, John Gray will give you an honest opinion and won't sell you something you don't need or can't afford. John will help you understand the many options and pricing right on the spot. He's your guy to have your ride looking its best and protected too. See the state-of-the-art shop yourself. Free tours anytime. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is easy to get to, located just south of the Southwest Freeway on the Sam Houston Parkway. Gulf Coast Auto Shield, full-service luxury car care today, and online at gcautoshield.com.
Well, that's all for this week's In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Be sure and check out our website, inwheeltime.com. Follow us on Facebook. Give us a like. Tell your car friends about us and share our stuff if you would. We'll keep you connected to all things automotive all week long. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@inwheeltime.com. And if you talk smack, we'll read them on the air. Don't hold back.
We'll send Mike to your house.
When you're but will he show up on time or too early?
Too early.
When you're looking for award-winning car talk, you can find the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Grab a podcast anytime from your podcast provider. And don't forget, we live stream this show on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com every Saturday from 10 to noon Central Time. The In Wheel Time Video Technical Director is We Need More Jeff Zekin. For booking agents and video editor and people finder, Mike Out of This World Mars. Chief Engineer David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. We hope you'll join us next week here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. That's going to be Saturday, August the 10th. Time for the Texas Elite Auto Show at NRG. But we'll be here from 10 to noon Central Time on all of your In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.